there is this invisible pressure.
Has it been challenging working with your father?
My dad being a very popular sports journalist, therefore I also have to live up to certain expectations.
Today there is nothing like that. I mean, they just get away writing whatever they wish to.
So I think these are the pros and cons.
Hi, welcome to the Indian Booktubers show. आज के show में I have two incredible guests. One of them has been a sports journalist that most of you would already know of, and he has been writing since the 80s, and now he has been writing books with his son, who is an incredible researcher, who's been an educator, and now he's writing books and something super incredible. So आज के show में मैं इन दोनों को आपके सामने ला रही हूँ, and we'll have some great conversations about their books, about how they have researched about their books, about being in the rooms with some of the biggest sports icons of the country, and how has it been like just bringing these stories to life. So let's get started. Hi Vijay, hi Akshay, how are you guys?
Absolutely delighted to be here, and thank you very much.
Yes, very happy to be here. We have been waiting, to be honest, to be here, talk to you, and it's an incredible opportunity for me and definitely for Dad as well, to be part of your podcast.
Yeah, awesome. I'm so grateful. आप लोग I think Delhi में रहते हो. You're based in Delhi and you have come over here to Chandigarh for this shoot. So I'm really grateful and I'm really looking forward for the conversation. मतलब मेरा first question that I'm most interested to learn about is you are like a father-son duo और आपने अब इस time पे like this is your second book that you have just written together. How is it like working with your father, and Vijay, how is it like working with your son? Like totally different generations, totally different thought process.
So for me, I think it was a process where I discovered a few things about Akshay. I always knew his writing capacity and abilities, and skill-wise also he can weave a good story because he'll tell you he has done a bit of work. But it was a very pleasant experience. Writing two books in 1 year. I mean, the first book came in February on badminton, and this one came in November. So it's been a great experience.
And what about you, Akshay? Like, has it been challenging working with your father? Like, has he been bossy?
I think there are pros and cons. That's how I would put it. Because yes, definitely. I mean, the advantages are that because it's your father, it's a family member, so they would take into consideration what you have to say, and it's not that hard to get your point across. I think those are advantages, but I think at the same time, sometimes we might take, जैसे हम हिंदी में बोलते हैं थोड़ा easy ले लेना, तो वो भी होता है बीच में. तो उसके लिए आई थिंक एक दूसरे को पुश करना टाइम टू टाइम वो हमें ध्यान में रखना पड़ता था और अभी भी रखते हैं. सो आई थिंक दीज आर द प्रोज एंड कॉन्स.
Nice. And I also like relate with you on the thing that you are also an only child. I am an only child. My husband is an only child. So do you think like things were more difficult for you and like the stakes were like much higher for you because of you being an only child?
I think my parents definitely haven't shown me that there is this kind of pressure that way. I mean, they have given me that freedom to pursue or do what I want. But at the same time, I think there is this invisible pressure that I think that you are mentioning or talking about. Because yesterday we were somewhere at a conclave and they came to me and they said that there is this legacy that you have to keep in mind. And I think that's there, even if how much ever I try to say that it isn't there, it's definitely there. And you always have to keep that in mind that my dad being a very popular sports journalist, therefore I also have to live up to certain expectations, at least when it comes to writing and following sports.
So like you think the pressure is higher because like if you were a firstborn that you would have felt a similar pressure, I think, but also you are an only child, so now like everything, the ball is like totally in your court and you have to live up to that.
Yes, I think I'm not very sure if it's higher. I think how I see it is that at least if I achieve 10% of what he has done, I think I would be. I mean, in terms of goals and ambitions, I mean, we definitely need to look up to more, look for more in life. But at the same time, being realistic, because I am following his footsteps in some ways, because writing, reading is something that I grew up around. I mean, it was there because he was interested in writing and reading. That's how I got that exposure, and I know that it's the same for all of us. I mean, what our parents do, we easily imbibe those interests and hobbies. So that's how I would put it.
Amazing. And Vijay, I think Akshay already mentioned a little bit about like you being a journalist, and I think you need no introduction on that front, so everybody would already know you. But I'm interested to like hear about. So you've been a journalist since 1980s, and now we are in 2026. How do you think things have changed from the journalism perspective, and even like because you have been so involved in sports? How have things changed?
Changed drastically, dramatically. There is, when I began, I don't know if you know a thing called Telegram. I used to send my reports through Telegram and then work on typewriter and fax the report, and then fax was a boon. Then email came, which was a super boon because the report would go in a flash and from any part of the world. So communication has improved amazingly, and today's generation is very fortunate in this aspect, communicating so efficiently, flawlessly, and also the flow of information. I mean, it's so readily available. Today, he can just put a name on Google and then look for authenticity. I mean, that is one challenge. I mean, how much do you believe? But in my case, I would have to visit libraries, go through the newspapers, read magazines and make notes. So there is a big transformation, I must say, in how things have changed. Newspapers have changed, their style of reporting has changed. There are a lot of, I mean, we used to have one sports page, now it's three sports pages, a lot of features. Interviews were not known in earlier time. Today there are interviews in newspapers. So dedicated, I must say, sections for different aspects of society.
I think there's a lot of things to unpack in what you said. It's just like how the sports culture is growing, especially like I have been following some news in Ahmedabad, and like a new stadium is coming up and बहुत कुछ interesting हो रहा है. Like, what's your take on it? Do you think like 80s से लेके अब तक, in your opinion, how much has the growth been in sports?
Unbelievable. You talked of a stadium coming up. I mean, infrastructure, today we should feel proud that the infrastructure in India can match any infrastructure in the world. We have big stadiums, we have modern stadiums, looking at spectators' comfort, spectator, I mean, in the sense, trying to make sport watching a pleasant experience. It was not so when I was growing up, and even in my early days of journalism, it wasn't there. But today, spectators are being given importance, and like you say, all these stadiums coming up as part of the sporting revolution which is sweeping the country.
You spoke about how the communication has changed as well. First of all, जब आपने Telegram बोला, I think all the Gen Zs would have heard Telegram app and not the Telegram that used to be. So yeah, that kind of like shows how much it has changed. उसमें मुझे लगता है कि there's, what I have felt is like there's also, it's a boon and a bane. Boon ये है कि like things travel across faster, but also it's like things also get misinterpreted a lot. Things also like there's so much of fake news. So like, how do you think that has been like sports में उसका कितना impact रहा है?
Very harmful. See, like I would say, what we learned is you had to pick your writer. You know that Akshay will, if he's writing, he's authentic. He is not indulging in fake news, or what we used to call yellow journalism, to make quick name fame, it won't work in earlier times because you would be found out. Today it's so much happening. I mean, there is so much of misleading information on the social media, on internet, where you are following somebody, you don't even know whether it is a he, it's a she, he, whatever. So you don't know the identity of the people you are trying to follow and ape is unknown. It's a very dangerous trend, and so, like, I've been a newspaper man all my life. I knew one thing, that we could not get away by putting false news. Next day, if it was wrong, you had to apologize. There would be apology, regret from the newspaper editor, and it was a black mark for the reporter. But today there is nothing like that. I mean, they just get away writing whatever they wish to, which is sad.
Yeah, and I feel like it just gets like locked in time. अगर आप न्यूज़पेपर पब्लिश कर देते हो तो द पेपर स्टिल स्टेज. अब वो बहुत कैजुअली हो गया है, क्योंकि अगर ऑनलाइन कुछ आ रहा है, गलत भी कर दिया, इफ देयर इज प्रेशर, पीपल वुड जस्ट एडिट इट. सो आई थिंक या दैट कैजुअलनेस अबाउट लाइक your profession and just like about like your whole world has come through that. Yes. Yeah, I agree. Akshay, we like you are now writing books, but before that you have been an educator, and then you have worked with NGOs, and then Vijay already mentioned like, you know, like he had a really like confidence in like your ability for writing. So how do you think like that has developed for you? Like, have you wanted to write like when you were like teaching? Did you want to write then, or like is it something like that has come up later in your life?
Yeah, I think for me it started back in college, because all during my school life he always encouraged me to read, not so much as to write, because I think writing was only part of my English classes. I think when we had to write letters and few lengthy answers, but back in college I think I started reading more, and maybe out of need, because I think back in school I never felt that need, but in college when I saw that you can be part of different extracurricular activities as well, and there you need your reading and writing and speaking skills. So that's when I started reading more, and I thought I'll try writing as well, and he didn't know. I started writing for an online magazine, and I used to go out and interview people as well. There is, if I'm not mistaken, Katputli colony in Delhi. So it's a community of street artists. They have been living there for many years, and so a story on them. So like these, I had written on quite a few different social issues, culture. So that's how I started writing, and it did not start with regards with on sports, I mean. And later on, I think once I had written quite a few of those, I shared those with him. He also liked, and then a few times he had to write something on cricket, and without mentioning the magazine or the newspaper also, because there were quite a few that he used to write for back then, I wrote those and those got published, and the feeling of pride in me came from the fact that those went almost unedited. So that's when I knew that okay, there is, जो मैं लिख रहा हूँ वो भी मतलब छप सकता है. 1000 words what I write, 1500 what I write, वो बिना छेड़छाड़ के छप सकता है. So I think that's how it began, and then I went into education, because back in college I used to work with NGOs. Then I started teaching, and then later on I thought I'll maybe take a little break, and came back to Delhi. He was doing a book on 2019 World Cup, called World Cup Warriors. And I contributed 2 stories or 3 stories in that, published by Bloomsbury again, and they got to know that I had written a few articles in that. So then they offered a book to me with him, obviously. and they wanted something on badminton because not a lot had been written on badminton. So we covered Indian history of Indian badminton in that, and then a year later we started writing on We Are the Champions, which is chronicling 40 best moments from Indian sports.
Now that we're talking about like the more about your books, I'm interested to know about like your research process, and also like you must be interviewing a lot of sports people, right? So how was it like connecting with them face to face and just like being in those rooms and just like learning from them and just putting that to paper?
Right. So I think I'll quickly mention how we did the previous book, in fact, which is Netflix on badminton, because for that we traveled all over India almost, speaking with different badminton players of the previous eras. I think that was new for Dad as well, because he has covered cricket mostly all his life, if I'm not mistaken. And for me, it was a big, a huge opportunity to meet those players who have so much to tell, their stories. And it's from those stories that you learn a lot of things. Their grit that they had, the determination that they had, the family support that they had, or some maybe didn't have. So I think it's those learnings that we learn from their stories, and that's something that we wanted to highlight. And then coming to this, I think the research, just now I think how he was mentioning how he back during his college days he had to rely on libraries. We did that in fact for both of our books, because even while writing on these 40 moments, not a lot of footage we were able to rely on. Not a lot of stuff is on YouTube. So going to these libraries in Delhi, picking out newspapers, and those there, it's not really physical newspapers. They have these reels, these massive reels that you have in movie theaters. You put them in physically, then you have to roll them manually, and you cannot take pictures. You are not allowed to do that. So you have to take notes. So मतलब एक घंटे में मुश्किल से आप एक पैराग्राफ निकाल पाते हो उसमें से. So it's a lot of physical work, and we did that actually for both of our books. So that way I think it was another way of learning things about journalism, maybe. I think how things used to happen back then. And yeah, so that's how we did.
You know, seeing those old pages was fascinating.
Yeah, it sounds so fascinating. Like just doing that, I did not know like there's still a thing like that and you have to do that. तो थोड़ा movies में देखा है कि वो कोई movie में वो कुछ reels चल रही होती हैं, but yeah, like it's fascinating, and also like to see कि आपने इतना effort डाला है to like find those stories from like the actual source and not just rely on like थोड़ा internet से मिल गया या whatever.
Yes.
So like lots of effort has clearly gone into this. Yeah, so that's amazing. You mentioned about like sabki stories, like the sports people and their stories. Is there like a particular story or like conversation you had with them that stood out to you?
For me, maybe I can quickly mention. For me, I think Mr. Abhinav Bindra's story stood out for the simple reason being that I had not watched a lot of shooting back when I was in school, and his event 10 meters air rifle. It's only when I started reading about it, again, not a lot of footage was available. Because all these matches are from, if I'm again not mistaken, are owned by different media houses, and you have to take permission. So it was easier to find reading material on that. And obviously we had access to, because of that, we had access to different journalists, officials whom we could speak with. Knowing just about that sport, that discipline, that the amount of precision it takes to master that is just incredible. I mean, it's only when you maybe watch or maybe when you read about it, that's when you understand that. And even something similar, I was mentioning it yesterday somewhere else, that even a slight flex of muscle would take that shot a little off from the center or from the bullseye. And that's just incredible, that how you master that after so many years of practice and determination. So I think that's something that struck me.
Amazing. And Vijay, what about you? I know like I'm asking you to sift through like nearly 46 years of amazing moments, but is there something that stands out?
For me, of course, it was going back into time. Some of the games I had covered, some of the moments I had covered, but there were many which I had not. So, like he and I would leave home, go to the Prime Minister's library in Delhi, and the biggest for us, the biggest benefit was I worked for the Hindu and Sportstar, so access to the Hindu newspaper and Sportstar magazine was invaluable. Yeah, because and since he was doing the research part, he spent a lot of time visiting, taking notes, and for me, I think that stood out, the research part, because I discovered so many things which I had read, I had watched, but I had not known the importance. So the young man's perspective combined with an old man's perspective, experience you may call it. So the result was very interesting. Many new facets of sports and sportsmen I was able to discover, and I was very impressed by the fact that old players, we were able to give them recognition in both the earlier book and this, of course. It documents, it's a documentary, I would say, where every library should have it, not because we have written it, every school library should have, where kids or students, young students can read about these 40 moments from Indian sports and take pride in the fact that we have a great sporting legacy.
Yeah, so true. And you also mentioned the Hindu while you were talking about this. And you've worked with the Hindu newspapers since the 80s, I believe, right?
From 86 to 2020.
Yeah, and then now these are the two books you have written with Akshay, and then you have also written books before. I wonder, like, what's the difference you see in like writing for a newspaper and just writing your own thing?
Oh, between the newspaper and book?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a huge difference. There can be no comparison. But I was very fortunate that for the Hindu, I would write a report as it would appear next day. And then we had a sports page called, it used to come out on Saturday, every Saturday, where we did features. And the magazine again features. So my writing improved, grew, and it became, I would say, I could call myself versatile for the simple reason that what I had watched today and written in the newspaper, I had to look at it differently and make it readable a week later in the Sportstar magazine. It had to be feature-ish with a lot of interaction with the players, which I couldn't do it in the newspaper because the deadline challenge was there. So I was extremely fortunate to have worked for the best newspaper in the country, and a very I would say a great magazine, sports magazine, where every sport was covered. So that is why if you see the book it's not cricket centric. It has got little known sportsmen being highlighted for their wonderful achievements, and so my experience was very different.
You said you have been focused very much on cricket, and this book, and also like Akshay, your focus has been on like different sports. I mean, like, why that choice? I see it a bit, but I also want to know, like, when as an Indian, when we think of sports, most of the people are still thinking of cricket. So what is your take on like other sports, how they are growing, and also like your personal interest in other sports in India?
I think, in fact, that was the whole idea of writing We Are the Champions, that we will focus less on cricket, but at the same time, I mean, we definitely have 5 or 6 stories on cricket, which the book would have been incomplete if we hadn't not mentioned those. But at the same time, as I said, we had to focus on other disciplines. I mean, without mentioning those moments, the book would have been incomplete, and it would have been injustice to Indian sports overall, I mean. So I think while reading and researching for all these on all these different events, movements, even I learned that okay, there were so many other movements that I did not know of, especially the ones that happened back in 40s, 50s and 60s, because we did not have, even while we were growing up, I'm not sure if those were broadcast anywhere on television. I mean, I can't recall. Maybe they were.
They were not. Yeah.
They were not, yeah. So I think that was interesting, and at the same time, because the book needed those movements to be covered, so both were in tandem. I think that's how the blend happened. And you understand, as I think Dad was mentioning, that there is a lot more beyond cricket in India. I mean, talking about badminton, talking about gymnastics, Paralympics. I mean, in the last 5-6 years, since 2020, if I'm not again mistaken, there's so much that has happened in Paralympics. Women in sports, all those things you would only know when you would show maybe a little bit more interest outside of cricket. If that happens, if that exposure is there, I think then you understand, yes, there's more to Indian sports.
हाँ 40s 50s में तो वैसे ही थोड़ा कम था, but अभी भी we still have to go a long way to talk about more sports. This has changed in like, I'm just sharing my perspective. I'm not like, yes, my husband is usually like glued to the TV when the matches happens, mostly cricket.
Right.
But like, I have a lot of colleagues who are like into different sports, which like I'm just like, we have never talked about them in India. So like, ये अभी मुझे लगता है कि थोड़ा change हो गया है, but we still have a long way to go in terms of कौन सी स्पोर्ट्स के बारे में हम बात कर रहे हैं और कितना फोकस कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज दैट इन द एंड ऑल्सो लाइक काइंड ऑफ इम्पैक्ट्स हाउ मेनी लाइक स्पोर्ट्स पीपल वी ग्रो फ्रॉम आवर कंट्री. क्योंकि अगर सभी क्रिकेट की बात कर रहे हैं तो सबका ड्रीम क्रिकेट ही है. तो इट्स वेरी रेयर एनीवन एल्स इज, आई फील लाइक दिस इज द सेम थिंग विद रीडिंग एंड स्पोर्ट्स. आप इस फील्ड में कितना करोगे, या आपकी कोई हैबिट इवन फॉर लाइक just as a hobby or as a profession, वो तब बनने वाली है if you have like parents who understand it and who kind of like help you direct you towards it, जो कि I think is much needed in our country. Like that's kind of the reason why I do my booktube as well, is because like, and so, most of the times if you'll see like the messaging is not for kids to read the books, it's more like parents, it's your like job to direct your kids towards that, right? Like they won't just like pick up something that's essentially not easy. Like it's easy to watch Instagram reels, it's easy to watch YouTube, but it's definitely difficult to read a book, or if it's definitely difficult to pick up a sport. So like I think it's on the parents, and I hope like watching both of you, like a parent and a son, talking about it and doing this inspires a lot of like people of all the generations. Yeah. Akshay, I think इस book में आपकी like 40 stories हैं, but I'm sure there must be like many more moments. तो like how was your like, कितने moments थे जो आप consider कर रहे थे, and like must have been very difficult for you to get down to 40, no?
Yes, definitely. Research करते time definitely there were a lot more moments. जो हम मतलब बहुत सारे रीडर्स फैंस ये डेफिनेटली बोलेंगे कि आपने ये मोमेंट क्यों नहीं पिक किया, ये भी होना चाहिए. या इवन पर्टिकुलर एथलीट को जिनके बारे में हमने लिखा है, उनके अपने और अचीवमेंट्स हैं जिनको हम एज अ मूवमेंट बना सकते थे. बट आई थिंक पब्लिशर्स का भी एक क्राइटेरिया होता है, वर्डेज होती है, नंबर ऑफ पेजेस होता है. तो उस चीज़ को ध्यान देते हुए एंड एट द सेम टाइम इन मोमेंट्स का जो इम्पोर्टेंस है वो कम ना हो जाए. तो वो ये दो रीजंस की वजह से हमने सोचा कि 40 मोमेंट्स पे फोकस करें. 50 भी हो सकते थे, 60 भी हो सकते थे. आई थिंक 35 पे आए थे, फिर हमने बोला नहीं, अब कुछ और है जो नहीं छोड़ने हैं. फिर वहाँ से 35 से फिर 40 किया. सो 40 पे फाइनली सेटल हुआ. I think, but that भी और उसके बारे में कुछ.
Yeah, it was not easy. I mean, like we were discussing. He said 60 भी हो सकते थे, or 100 was a nice figure to have. there will be 100, but we didn't want to kind of dilute. I mean, we wanted to pick 40 and tell you that these are absolutely essential 40 moments, iconic sports moments in our history.
And also, like, I think आपकी book में the foreword has been by Sachin Tendulkar, who's like the biggest icon of the country. So how was it like you getting that foreword from him?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I couldn't have asked for more, as putting it as simple as that. Firstly, because of that, I got to write for Penguin. That itself is a huge deal for me. And then on top of that, Sachin sir giving a foreword for our book. ये तो सोने पे सुहागा जैसे हम बोलते हैं ये तो एकदम मतलब इससे ज़्यादा और कुछ मैं एक्सपेक्ट कर भी नहीं सकता हूँ. सो परफेक्ट कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ बोथ.
जो प्रोसेस था, was it like who reached out to Sachin sir to get this?
Dad.
आप already जानते होगे उनको, है ना?
In fact, he has, if you see the foreword, he has mentioned about me. That's fine. I've known him.
You're just like downplaying it.
It's very kind of him. And what I liked was, he says it is heartening to see Akshay follow in his father's footsteps. So I have covered him from his first season to last, which he has said that. And it was, for us, it was a big deal getting it. And he said, I mean, it's a gift from him to Akshay. So
Amazing.
It matters a lot.
Yeah, that must be such a proud moment for you as a father.
Yeah.
And Akshay, I think for you, it's like, it's amazing to see like you have achieved so much.
Right.
In such a young age, and like also like making your father proud, but also like carving your own path and like moving towards your own path as an author. So that's amazing.
Yes, just getting that opportunity. I mean, getting a chance to write with my dad for Penguin, and as I said, Sachin Tendulkar's foreword. So perfect amalgamation of all that I could ask for.
Yeah, I would just rephrase it. I feel like ये हमारे podcast पे ना पहले भी ये conversation हो चुकी है. I would rephrase it. I won't say it getting an opportunity. You went out and took that opportunity for yourself. You created it for yourself. तो opportunities मुझे लगता है कि ऐसे आपके पास आती नहीं है. Even if you are in the right room in the right place with the right people, up and until you actually go out and go after that opportunity and like prove to people you are worthy of it, तब तक वो नहीं आती आपके पास. So I would like just take that credit. I always like, even like my last podcast, I don't know हमने on camera बोला, but like that author, I was just like, you have this, so just take it like and be proud of it. Like आपकी अपनी मेहनत, never like let anyone dim that. So I would just say that.
Yeah.
And on that note, I'm also like, आप लोग जैसे you have published a book, and like for most people it's just like that's the very difficult part, but what comes after it is like a whole another job जो आपको करनी पड़ती है. So you have so much of research, you build this concept, you write it, and then you get it published. But that's where I feel like कहानी अभी यहाँ से start होती है of selling. So how has it been like for you both of you to work on talking about this book and even promoting this book and just getting it out into the hands of right people? Right.
I think for me, just understanding, because so many people that we are talking to, how they are also sharing that these days publishing has changed a little bit, which is an author or a writer also has the job of going out and talking about their work. So being an entertainer, that's how they are terming it or calling it. But that's interesting. In fact, the positive side to it. In fact, there's only positive side to it that I can understand, which is I am also getting that opportunity again. That I wouldn't have been here on this podcast if it wouldn't have been because of my dad and also because of Penguin. Because they want us to go out and show ourselves, our work, talk about our work. That's how I'm here. So I think that's a great part. I'm getting that exposure. I'm definitely building a lot more different skills as well. Not just writing and editing and researching, but there are other skills that I'm learning.
as a reader, this is just my reader's perspective and probably all लोगों का different होगा, but yes, आपने book लिखी है, but अगर मुझे आपकी background story पता है, like if I can even like get a glimpse of the struggle you have been through or the effort that you have put into it, तो मेरा जो perspective है towards the book, that also changes. So like knowing about you, knowing about your father, and आप लोगों का like how you have worked, that gives me a perspective into like how this book came to be, and that's really important. And हमारी इंडस्ट्री में इस टाइम पे like that's what I feel is missing. Yes, एक स्टोरी है, but इस स्टोरी की पीछे की स्टोरी क्या है? I want to know that. So yeah, thank you so much. I feel like thank you so much for being here. It's actually an honor for me to have both of you guys here and just talk about it. So I'm really grateful कि आप लोग यहाँ आए and you have talked about this. And yes.
But I'm very thankful because I have a question for you. I mean, we do. My generation would look forward to reviews in newspapers and magazines, but today it's a lot of talk of influencers and on digital media and YouTubers. So you have to give us your perspective on why would you like to feature us and our book on your channel.
I think there are two things in this. एक तो है कि yes, there's like a big thing about like going viral on Instagram that really helps sell books. So I wish that for actually every single author who has put into the effort like you guys have. So yeah, you should go viral on Instagram and like have a lot of like books sold. Personally, why I do YouTube is because I think our industry, like Indian literature and Indian books, Indian authors deserve that dedicated space where, you know, like people can get to know you, people can get to know your story, people can get to just discover how much of like amazing storytelling that's happening in our country. So uske liye I think wo space chahiye, and that's what I personally am trying to build on YouTube. क्योंकि YouTube में ना वो longevity है, because like you are here but like your readers after like I'm trying to sell, like now I'm selling my YouTube channel to you guys, but कि 5 साल बाद भी अगर किसी reader को आपके बारे में जानना है, so they can still come to here and like still find those relevant stories. So YouTube is very relevant for authors in this day for that, like having, it's kind of like part of building your legacy as an author, just having that content out there, having that story that people can discover. And then Instagram is like that shorter term, just making those sales so that more. I love this one very wonderful concept somebody said about like book sales, which was just that कि किसी भी तरीके से ना आप अपनी 1000 copies readers में circulate कर लो, उसके बाद ना it becomes like an effect जो अपने आप roll होकर आपकी books sales होनी शुरू हो जाती हैं. So that 1000 copies is a difficult part, but जब वो readers के हाथ में पहुंच जाती हैं तो आपकी book आगे अपने आप बढ़ती है. So I think Instagram is very important for that. So if you can have influencers, if you can have people talking about your book and just get those initial copies in readers' hands, your book is set for good. So yeah. All right, thank you so much, Vijay and Akshay. Thank you so much for being here. And yes, like I will link your book down below in the description, and I would really encourage all of my viewers, because sports के वो moments, like I know like कुछ moments अभी match हुआ है तो हमें पता है, but like what are the things you should be proud of? I think that's what they'll find in your book, and then you have written many more books that people should definitely discover. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Manpreet, for having us here, having me here. I think you definitely have you make your the guests very comfortable. I think your questions are very easy going. You definitely go into depth as well, there's no doubt about it. At the same time, the setup and the way you do it clearly has an impact on your guests, which makes them very comfortable. So I think I just wanted to say that.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for saying that. Yeah, that's really valuable feedback. I'm still working on my podcasting skills, so yeah.
Well, it's right there, I mean.
Thank you.